It's an alarming trend in Lexington, a dozen violent crimes in just the last 3 weeks. What Lexington police told us they're doing to protect you.
We've spent the day trying to break down what's next for Centrepointe. Hear what city leaders are saying.
An unusual theft in Jessamine County, what police say a man stole from some school buses.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 6.
Good evening to you. It has raised concerns in some neighborhoods around Lexington. 12 violent crimes in the city in just the last 3 weeks.
So what are Lexington police doing about that? Today we went to them for answers. Police say that so far this year, 22 people have been shot in Lexington, but 12 of those have been since April 7th. The most recent, a shooting on Codell Drive this morning. Monique Blair talked to Lexington police. She's live with our top story at 6. Monique?
Well, Sam, since April 7th, that's 3 weeks and 1 day. Our records show that 12 people have been shot and 1 person has been stabbed in Lexington. That's more than the numbers from January through March combined. So tonight we're digging to find out what police are doing to prevent these crimes from happening.
Where is a good place? Can you tell me?
Rodney Brock lives just a few blocks from the most recent shooting. This morning, a man was shot in the stomach on Codell Drive.
You don't think that that's going on out here, but it is.
It is going on. This map shows you the 12 shootings and 1 stabbing we have reported so far in April. From January through March, Lexington police tell us they responded to 10 reports of someone being assaulted with a weapon. That's less assaults in 3 months than in the past 3 weeks in April. And today, Lexington police tell us they had a meeting to talk about what they're going to do about what appears to be an upswing in violent crimes.
We take every crime seriously and respond with urgency to all these incidents. And we've directed additional internal resources to areas where there's been an uptick in criminal activity to establish a presence as we continue to investigate these crimes and arrest those responsible.
Lexington Police Commander Greg Jones says there is no way to distinguish whether there are any common denominators in the recent crimes because the investigations are still ongoing, and he couldn't specify exactly what areas police are going to be focusing on. As he said, it is part of the investigation.
Well, we're addressing all locations where there's been serious crime, and so not just specific locations, but every locations where we've seen an increase in crime.
Now, of the 12 shootings and 1 stabbing, 2 people have died. 22-year-old Jonathan Kruger and 22-year-old Salahuddin Jitmood. Now, arrests have been made in both those cases. And as far as the other shootings are concerned, we don't have the number of arrests made. I'm live in Lexington. Monique Blair, WKYT.
Lexington police say their numbers actually show a decrease in violent crimes between January and March compared to the same time last year. The numbers for April are not available yet.
We have an update tonight on an investigation involving stolen bourbon and steroids in Franklin County. Tonight, we've learned a Frankfort police officer has been linked to the case. Police say Officer Michael Wells has now stepped down because of it. Centrepointe is tracking the investigation.
Earlier today, the Frankfort chief of police said this former officer may have violated their policies. He's one of many people named in the search warrants connected to thousands of dollars in missing bourbon.
I understand that this is a huge story, even with national attention.
The focus on everyone involved in this case, as it continues to grow, has now turned to local law enforcement. Frankfort Police Chief Jeff Abrams spoke to the media today about the resignation of Officer Michael Wells.
As a result of the allegations raised during the ongoing investigation of theft of bourbon from local distilleries and steroid use, the Frankfort Police Department conducted an internal investigation pertaining to Officer Mike Wells.
Wells was listed on one of the search warrants filed by the Franklin County Sheriff's Office during their investigation into thousands of dollars worth of missing bourbon. According to those warrants, the man police are calling the ringleader, Gilbert Kurtzinger, placed orders for anabolic steroids with Wells. Kurtzinger and 8 others are charged with engaging in organized crime, selling stolen bourbon from Buffalo Trace and Wild Turkey. The warrant says Wells called Kurtzinger 3 times while deputies were executing the search warrant that uncovered barrels of bourbon. Wells resigned on Monday. The Frankfort police chief said he was being investigated by his own department and may have been in violation of city policies.
After deliberation, Officer Wells elected to resign his position with the Frankfort Police Department.
Police here tell me Wells was on the force for about a decade. He was also the department's DARE officer. In Frankfort, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Franklin County Sheriff Pat Melton wouldn't comment specifically on if Wells would face charges, but he did say they expect more arrests in the investigation. 4 people now face charges in connection to a sexual abuse case involving a former Franklin County caregiver. In February, police arrested Damon Heath on sexual abuse charges. Investigators say he abused 2 intellectually disabled adults while working for Community Choices Unlimited. The Attorney General's office says the Franklin County grand jury has indicted 4 other employees of that company for not reporting the abuse. Lewis Milligan, Randy Driver, Tammy Humphrey, and Tasha Redding have been charged with wanton neglect and failure to report abuse.
Lexington city leaders say it's been empty long enough. They have told the Centrepointe developer, Dudley Webb, to return the block to how it looked before. We first told you about the letter the city sent to Dudley Webb last night on WKYT at 11. Here's a live look at the Centrepointe block from our Skycam. And this all comes less than 2 weeks after WKYT asked questions about the project's future. Today, Jordan Valines talked to city leaders about what's next.
It's gone from the city's center block
It is a prime location for downtown.
to Centrepointe.
He's had 4 or 5 years to do something with the lot, and he hasn't.
And now, Center Pit.
Everybody asked about this hole. That's all anybody ever asked.
Project started back in 2008. That's when plans for the initial 40-story skyscraper were unveiled. The still vacant site was then used as a park during the 2010 World Equestrian Games, and in 2013, more design changes as concrete barriers around the site were erected. First blasting, though, didn't happen until 2014. Now, the delays have prompted renewed controversy.
If that's work, then me lending him $1 to build the garage is financing.
There were some workers inside of the pit on Wednesday morning, and some could argue that that qualifies as progress. But the city's attorney disagrees. He says it's easy to see how little progress has been made just by looking at it.
Little to nothing has been done toward the site development other than digging a hole.
A hole that the city now wants filled in by Centrepointe developer Dudley Webb.
If he doesn't fill it in, the agreement was written in a way that allows the city to do it for him.
But if the city beats Webb to the punch and fills the hole first, then Webb would have to pay the city $4.4 million to finance it. Now, just within the past 15 minutes, we received this letter from developer Dudley Webb. In a response to the city attorney, Webb says there has been work done on the site as recently as yesterday. So the earliest the city could demand restoration is June 28, 2015. He goes on to say your letter and the actions of the LFUCG have had a negative impact on the community. Now, Webb claims that the city's actions could force the project to lose prospective tenants and the viability of the project. You can read the entire letter on WKYT.com. At the live desk, Jordan Valines, WKYT.
Also, the city's attorney says that filling that hole would only take about 60 days. Business owners near Centrepointe say the city's request is welcome news to them. They say they're tired of seeing the gaping hole next to their stores and restaurants, and they say it's bad for their business.
I mean, it's just frustration because nothing's really happening. You know, I'm all for it. I want something to happen more than anybody, I think, because we need something to happen, you know, to get people downtown, and our business is definitely hurting because nothing, you know, there's a hole in the middle of downtown.
Business owners also tell us they've had problems with parking since crews started digging out dirt for Centrepointe.
It has certainly been a great day to be outside with sunshine and comfortable temperatures, but as Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey tells us, the Thursday forecast, well, it's not going to be the same, right?
Yeah, we got some changes blowing into town for tomorrow at this time. Roughly some showers, thunderstorms will be showing up on Live First Alert Defender, but as you mentioned today, absolutely spectacular, and Defender has nothing. That's a clean sweep coming back from Kentucky's most powerful live Doppler radar scanning the skies through the area. So for us to give us something to talk about, we throw the clouds into the mix and throw the temperatures on top of this as well. Mid-60s across most of central Kentucky. Got a few thermometers out there trying to flirt with 70 with a little bit of cloud cover billowing up. That's ahead of a cold front that is off to our north and northwest. Starting to see some additional clouds now showing up into parts of the Buckeye State and toward the Hoosier State. today. Into Chicago and north, a little pocket of very cold air is diving its way toward the southeast. That has some showers and thunderstorms with that. That is what is on top of us as we go through tomorrow with some gusty winds. We get beyond your Thursday Derby weekend. We've been hawking it for a while as being a pretty good looking weekend. That is still the case. And then as we go toward next week, guys, I just want to climb the tower out back here and yell, the 80s are coming. The 80s are coming. We'll show you when those arrive with the 7-day forecast here in just a few minutes.
I probably wouldn't advise that, Chris, but you yell it from in here, all right? Well, the school day got off to a rough start for some Jessamine County school bus drivers. Earlier this week, someone stole dozens of batteries from the buses.
But it didn't take long for police to track down the man they say is responsible. Miranda Combs tells us what led up to the arrest, new at 6.
Usually it's a window broken or something like that. It's been a long time since we've had any kind of theft.
Drivers came up that morning to start their vehicles and several of the buses would not start.
That's because someone stole 24 batteries out of 8 Jessamine County school buses. Batteries that cost more than $2,000.
We caught the incident early Monday morning about 4:15 a.m.
Chris Bellman oversees more than 100 buses inside the bus garage. Although the stolen batteries were an early morning inconvenience, they had a backup plan.
We have enough sub buses. When we discovered that only 8 had been affected, that we were able to continue with the day and run our routes pretty much on schedule.
The garage is completely fenced in, so the question is, how could anyone get inside?
Once we arrived, we did kind of just a rough area walk around, found a path that headed to one of the other streets that backs up to the bus garage in a spot where the fence had been pulled out.
Later that day, Nicholasville police got a tip that someone was selling an unusual amount of batteries.
The second call came from in Richmond, and somebody also was over there trying to sell a large quantity of batteries, which is kind of unusual.
Monday afternoon, Nicholasville police arrested Jeppeth Cook and charged him with theft. In Nicholasville, Miranda Combs, WKYT.
And police say they have not been able to find 16 of these stolen batteries.
It is a place students on the University of Kentucky campus have gathered for decades, but next, some major changes are on the way.
And then how the Morehead State University basketball team spent the day helping other people in their community. You could call it the end of an era for students at the University of Kentucky.
The current student center on campus is being torn down, and today UK gave the students a chance to say goodbye with a demolition party. Students celebrated with free food and t-shirts. Those we talked to say they have mixed feelings about the old student center being torn down.
I understand that it is old and it's not reasonable to keep everything just due to the history of it, but I do feel like the student center has a lot of history with it.
After the spring semester ends, UK will move offices and services in the current student center to a temporary location beside the Singletary Center. Construction of a new student center is expected to take 2 years.
Members of the Morehead State University basketball team spent the day giving back to the community. The team helped out at the Community Soup Kitchen in Rowan County. Head coach Sean Woods and the players prepared and served meals. It's part of the Morehead State Athletics Service Project called 1,000 Hours of Giving Back.
Serving is gravely important because it's, you got to give to receive, and the more you give, it says in the Bible, the more you receive. And I think my job, when kids come to play for us, is to humble them, keep them humble as they go on through life when they leave Morehead State University. And it's all about experiences, and I try to make their experience as great as possible, not only with the good times of people celebrating us, but also humbling ourselves to go and serve others.
The Community Soup Kitchen feeds about 250 people every day.